Hey guys, welcome back to Answers on Eschatology. I hope you had a great Valentine's yesterday. We did, and we had a great time. We just went out for dinner, celebrated my dad's birthday as well. Just a good time and some good fellowship. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad you are with me. My name is Dan Derry, and I'm the president of the Institute of Fulfilled Eschatology. And we are continuing our series today on the transition between two covenants. And we have been showing you that the biblical inheritance, the inheritance of Abraham, was being received in the first century and was fully received in AD 70 when the new covenant was fully established and the old had vanished away. Now, what I want to do is I want to contrast another text in the book of Galatians, and I want to give you kind of three parallels which will give you a even better picture of what this inheritance was and what they were being rescued from in those days. Now, remember with me, Galatians 1 and 4. Paul says that Jesus gave himself for their sins that he might rescue them from the then present evil age, from the present evil age, which he spoke in 2,000 years ago. So Christ died so that they would be delivered from the Mosaic or Old Covenant age, which was evil in the sense that it could never bring righteousness, it could never reconcile man to God, and it could never bring perfection. And they had to be delivered from this age through the redemption of the transgressions that were committed under that age. Okay? So we looked at the purpose of Christ's death was to redeem man in order that he would be rescued from the then present evil age. But then we went to Galatians chapter 3 and we saw parallel text. It says in 3:13 and 14, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree, in order that in Christ Jesus the blessing of Abraham might come to the nations, so that we would receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. So we have Jesus dying and redeeming them in order that they would receive the blessing of Abraham. But in Galatians 1:4, Jesus died and redeemed them to deliver them from the present evil age. And therefore, one equals the other. To be delivered from the present evil age was to receive the blessing of Abraham, and this is why Christ died. Now, I want you to go with me to Galatians chapter 4, and let's look at another parallel text. Galatians 4 and 7. 4 to 5. But when the fullness of time came, God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, so that he might redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. So watch. In this text, Christ died, God sent his Son to redeem those who were under the law, that's his death, in order that they would receive the adoption. So watch these three parallels. Galatians 1:4. Christ gave himself for their sins, that's his death, in order that they would be delivered from the present evil age, from that evil age. But in Galatians 3:13 and 14, Christ was crucified, he gave himself in order that they would receive the blessing of Abraham. And in Galatians 4 and 4 to 5, now we see that Jesus redeemed them, that's the death of Christ, in order that they would receive the adoption as sons. So guys, let's see this picture kind of back, taking a step back. The adoption of sons is the blessing of Abraham, and having the blessing of Abraham, which is the adoption of sons, is to be delivered from the then present evil age. Are you with me? The purpose of Christ was to rescue them from the present evil age, and he would do that by consummating their adoption as sons, by bringing their full adoption and their full inheritance to pass, which would be the blessing of Abraham received and fully appropriated in their lives. Are you with me? That's the purpose. And that's what Paul is discussing in the book of Galatians, that through faith in Christ, up to the time of his writing, they had been redeemed, They had been sealed with the Spirit. They were pressing on to righteousness, Galatians 2:21. They were being made perfect, Galatians chapter 3 and 4, I do believe, 3 and 3. And the end goal of that was their adoption of sons, was their full inheritance. Now, that's all I want to really say today. I'm kind of running out of time. I will get into next week where we want to look at Galatians chapter 4, and Paul begins to really demonstrate and really teach on who was going to receive this inheritance, their full adoption as sons, and how they were receiving it. Because remember, the entire book of Galatians, Paul is dealing with Judaizers. He's dealing with people, with Jews, who are opposing his doctrine, and they are teaching that although, hey guys, although you started in the Spirit, you're going to be perfected in the flesh. In other words, you're going to receive the full inheritance by going back to Moses, by being circumcised and following law as well as faith in Christ. That's what they're teaching. And Paul's like, no, 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 no. They were redeemed through the blood of Christ. They received the Spirit by faith, and they have been made sons and heirs in Jesus Christ, Galatians 3:29. And he will go on in chapter 4 to demonstrate that those who were not sons were slaves, and slaves would never inherit the promises made to Abraham. In fact, the slaves would be cast out, but the sons would remain in the house forever, according to Jesus. So guys, we'll pick that up next week in Galatians chapter 4, and we'll see some really, really cool stuff, and an awesome progression, how Paul teaches that they were slaves, they were now sons, and they were expecting their full redemption as adopted sons in Jesus Christ through the establishment of the new covenant in AD 70. So we'll pick it up next time. And God bless, and thanks for tuning in to Answers on Eschatologies, guys. Bye for now.